Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, we've talked a couple of times on my show about mental health, and a friend of mine went through a reasonably traumatic experience and wants to talk about mental health and how she got through some interesting, some terrible but interesting circumstances in her life. Wasn't her, but it was her partner, and she wants to talk about it. So, Lovina Udhin, welcome to my show. How are you?
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much. So tell me what happened.
So I lost my partner of 3.5 years to mental illness, to suicide, actually, approximately. So it was May of last year, 2019. And he unfortunately jumped from our balcony here where I am right now, from the 31st floor. And yeah, this is what happened. It was a very traumatic experience for me.
I'm so sorry. My condolences. I had met your partner a few times, but I did not know him well. He seemed so full of energy, and he was, frankly, almost always the center of attention. What could cause this, do you think?
Absolutely. Ben was the light of the party. Everyone who met him said he was such a positive, loving person. When he would meet you, he would greet you and tell you something about yourself that you were, like he would just see it. Like, if you're lacking confidence or you're having a bad day, he would just see it and light up your day straight, just like that. So he had a gift to just be that light, in people's life. And he was loved by a lot of people here in Toronto. But he was also battling a very serious illness that I was not even aware of when he passed. So I only found out after the fact. And he had bipolar disorder, and he was hiding it really well, because all you could see was this beautiful, full of energy model who was organizing parties, who was, always there to give you a huge hug. And yeah, just life, you would only see the life, but not what he was actually struggling with.
And how did you find out about it after the fact?
Through his friends.
And so he had been diagnosed with bipolar disease, and was he on medication?
That was before we met, yes. He was on medication, but I thought he was treating his depression, because I've seen, so when we met, it was in 2016. So like later, around like December of 2016, he started having panic attacks that led to depression for about like 3 months. And I thought it was, I immediately labeled it. I didn't know. It was my first time. I was, I feel bad about it right now, just from like what I know of mental health and mental illness now, and from what I've learned through, various documentaries, talking to people and being just more aware. So at the time, I did not know what he was struggling with. And I was like, oh, you lack purpose. So let's fix this, so that was my response to immediately. I was like, we can fix this.
And did you try to fix it? And what was the outcome of that?
I did. So his depressive state lasted, I said, 3 months. And during the 3 months, I contacted his mom, and we, they looked into different therapists, and he got on pills. And I think it was like already like a taboo thing. Like, we didn't really talk amongst each other, or just like generally amongst ourselves, and just be straightforward. Ben never told me that, oh, listen, like I am bipolar and I've been diagnosed and this is what I'm dealing with, and be open and honest about it. So after the depressive state and he was on pills, I was like, okay, so you were a successful model, and now like is the time to change your career. We're gonna see like what what different options you have. And then he started studying for real estate to become a realtor, right? So, and then his depression just like disappeared like that. I didn't see any signs. He was still on pills, and yeah, that was it.
But it wasn't it.
But it wasn't it. So after 3 years, it came back, and it came back in the worst time, because it was actually, very strangely enough, it was the time where everything was going like the best it's ever been in our relationship. We moved here, like I can see, the CN Tower. It's just a beautiful place here. So we just moved. He just started his career. He was very successful. He was just a little stressed. I saw Ben being anxious and, having difficulty multitasking and all that. And again, I just labeled it again, oh, it's just a new career. You're going to just do a list, like a checklist. I had like all the answers in my head. Like, I think that's how like people that are not close to mental illness deal with it, because I was guilty of that. And I say guilty because I know that I was dealing with it in the wrong way.
How are you dealing with it in the wrong way?
Because I was not listening to him. Like I didn't give him a chance to open up and tell me honestly what he was going through. I just made it difficult, I think, for him to open up to me. I decided, hey, like, mental illness is just in your head. That's the story I was telling myself. Oh, this person that I love, that I want to share my life with, just lacks purpose. That's why he was depressed. And oh, we fixed it together. It's perfect. That's what I was telling myself. Meanwhile, there was another different, like altogether different struggle that he was dealing with that I was not aware of.
We're chatting tonight with Lovina Udhin about mental health, depression, bipolar. We're going to take a break, some messages, and come back for a little bit more. Stay with us. Well, welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. We're talking about mental health tonight, and we've been joined by Lovina Udhin, who shared with us what must be an unbelievably traumatic experience. Her partner committed suicide, jumping out of the window of their shared condominium. And Lovina, you were telling us that you've started a fund in Ben's honor. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so my friend, our mutual friend, Joan Kelly Walker, created a fund in memory of this amazing person that Ben Lefebvre was. And the fund is called Ben Lefebvre Mental Health Impact Fund. And it's, I'm just going to read a little bit of the facts here about this fund. It was created in partnership with United Way Greater Toronto, and it will help. So when you contribute to that fund, it goes to 79 high-impact health programs and services working directly on the ground across the regions to address mental health issues and suicide prevention. So basically, it's meant to support people that are dealing with mental illness, help to fund research, because United Ways does a lot of work to decrease the stigma around mental illness, just a lot of work that they've been doing to end that fear around it, and also help research of new drugs and all that. So right. This is when you contribute to that fund. You can find the bio. So in my bio, in my Instagram, which is LOVI_U6, you can directly go to the link and contribute to the fund to help support mental health. Well,
I'll include that link in our promo for the show. So thank you for doing
Thank
that.
you so much.
How did you get through it?
I owe my happiness right now and like the way I am right now to my friends and family. They were there from day one. You know, when it happened, I felt that everything, like my whole world collapsed because I was not expecting it. As I was telling you, it happened when I was least expecting it. I did not see the signs. We were at the best possible scenario of our couple, of our life, like financially, like everything was amazing. I didn't see it at all. So I was just like dealing with so many emotions, like, you know, like numbness, frustration, trauma, anger, sadness. And yeah, I just really, because of all the support that I got from my friends and my family and reaching out, you know, at 10 times, you know, like as much as possible, like people welcoming me to their homes, like my friends, Pierre and Greg Go welcomed me to their home for over 3 weeks. And just like having this love and support really, really made a difference. And that's why I'm like, you know, still doing well. And I didn't go in drugs or didn't go into negative things. And I'm just blessed and thankful for them.
Well, I've seen you at numerous different events, and you're very active. So congratulations
Thank you.
in that regard. But Ben was as well. He, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I met him at a downtown restaurant at a big event, and he was the life of the party. How
Yep.
does someone like that end up being so depressed that they commit suicide?
You know, Brian, I still get messages from people asking me, so what happened? Like to Ben? Ben was like such an amazing, like lovely, full of life person. What happened to Ben? No one, like, there are like actually like people that have known him for over 20 years that are shocked. And this is what is wrong with people. That's what's wrong with mental illness, because people are so fearful to share it because of the stigma. It's just so ingrained in our society.
Well, and he didn't even share it with you, it sounds like.
Exactly. So this comes to tell you how this has to change. You shouldn't be embarrassed. You shouldn't feel like a burden. You shouldn't feel like your life is over when you have mental illness, because it's treatable. There are many ways you can address it and live a normal life.
So what more do you think could have been done for Ben, if anything?
So I think from the get-go, Ben, he should have been more proactive with, you know, looking into more things to address his mental illness, like group therapy, being on top of his pills, because, you know, after 3 years, your balance, your chemical balance in your brain might have changed. Really be on top of that, because being bipolar, you know, you have mood swings, you have highs and lows. So really making sure that you're on top of that, being proactive, you know, like listening to the signs, and also share. Really, like, be vulnerable, share with people and talk about it.
Was he not vulnerable? Did he not share it with you?
He did not from my end. Like, we were together all the time. We did groceries together. We went to all events together. We cooked together, and he never shared that he was bipolar with me.
You know, it's amazing when I met him, your Ben was, I believe, a model, correct? And he was incredibly good looking. I remember meeting him and being intimidated by how attractive he was, how confident he was, how self-assured he was. I guess, you know, even the most successful people, the most beautiful people, the most confident people can be impacted by mental health.
I think it was more difficult for him because he had that image, as you said, like you were intimidated. You know, he had this image that people were looking up to him. So it's even more difficult to be vulnerable and say, sometimes I do not want to face the world. Sometimes I do not want to wake up. Sometimes I feel like there's someone saying like, I want to kill myself. It's just so hard to open up that way.
Because he was so attractive and successful, do you think expectations were almost too high for him to meet?
Definitely. And being a model didn't make it easier on him, because it's just a very, it's a lot of pressure from society, because you look good. You're this person who conveys confidence, and you're just like, people just look up to you, like it's just hard to just be vulnerable, as I said. Like, it's just, I don't know, like, I think I don't even know if like people that were even like that, like super close, like, he's very close, he's close-knit family, like, I don't know if they knew like the whole truth.
Was there any bipolar in his family? Is it genetic related?
Yes, his dad was bipolar.
And did you know that when you started?
Yes, I knew that.
And
I asked him various times if he was, and he said no.
Oh, really?
He was scared. Yeah.
What was he scared of? Was he scared you would leave him or not want to be with him?
He was scared that I would judge him, and I would maybe say, like, I can't be with you, or you just make stories in your head, right? So instead of just coming up and, like, I have cancer. Let's say if someone breaks their arm or someone has cancer, it's just, you will see it, right? Sooner or later. Mental illness is just invisible. So it's just easier for you to not deal with it. And that's what he did. He chose not to see it. He chose not to deal with it.
Were there some friends that he did share this with?
I think a few friends who were battling the same problems, and yeah, I do believe that he shared a few things, but I don't know to what extent.
So if you were counseling someone right now who either had mental health issues and or was the partner of someone with mental health, given your obviously traumatic experience, what advice would you give them?
Right now, especially because we're in this horrible pandemic, the COVID pandemic, I have a few tips to share with people that are listening. So I would say, remember to stay connected with your family and your loved ones. So it's just easy to, create your own bubble and then try to deal with your own problems, but please stay connected and share if you're not feeling good. Because if you're having suicidal thoughts, there's a crisis line actually that the government has put in place. It's called Crisis Service Canada, and it's available 24 hours. You can easily Google it and call or text a number. Second, I would say really try to structure your day-to-day life so that you have purpose, you don't feel disoriented. So really try to keep like some kind of routine. Also, do not forget that there is self-care. So try to do something that cares for yourself. So exercise or meditation, for example, really helps. Also, try to choose your media. So, try to control the amount of media you have in your life right now, because, right now, like what we're seeing in the media can easily
get you down.
Yes, it can really get to you and make your life even more miserable, that you think like you're battling with something. Don't expose yourself too much to media. And again, like if you're feeling like that you're overpowered by your depression or your mental illness, please call someone, and please or call 911 if it's really critical.
Well, those are all great suggestions. And I think the connected one is the most important. but Ben was well connected. And so I guess one of the things is that you've really got to open up to your partner.
Yeah.
You've got to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I think like Ben was thinking that he was a burden a lot of times. He always said, you know, like, I don't deserve you. And that's because I think he was just that his anxiety, his depression really got a hold of him. So really, you know, like mental illness is treatable. You can do things to feel better. I'm not saying it's easy, but you have people who are going to listen to you, your loved ones. You have people that are there for you, like, you know, like psychiatrists, psychologists who are there to listen. So really, it's like I know it's difficult sometimes because you don't want to see people, you don't want to deal with it, but you are important, you know, like the world is better with you and your life matters. So that's my message today.
Your life matters. Every life matters. There's just no question about that. So thank you for
Definitely.
telling us a little bit about your experience. Tell us, just in the last couple of minutes we've got, if you could, a little bit about Ben. Tell us about his history.
So Ben, he was just the most, I've never met a more loving person than Ben. He was just charismatic. He, everywhere he went, he spread love. And now we have that thing that saying that be like Ben. So we're gonna carry this, you know, like his friends and I are gonna carry this for the rest of our lives, and his love, because he really spread the love around us and around where he went. And it's just so sad to know that he was from Vancouver and he swam like a fish. And yeah, this is, you know, the lovely Ben. He just was like that, like imposing and beautiful human being. And I really, really miss him.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having me. Have a good night.
Thanks.